We got some big news coming out about Universal Orlando's new expansion, Epic Universe, and this is something I personally have interest in because I've been wanting to go to this since I first heard about it going on in Tokyo, having a Super Nintendo World, and everything I see coming out about Epic Universe in Orlando just seems incredible, especially since I have a couple small kids myself. They're a bit too young for theme parks right now, but in a couple years, this looks like a place that I would personally want to take them because it just seems like everything that you would want in a theme park. And a lot of people are calling this a Disney killer because down in Orlando, Universal Studios is their main competitor, and it might not necessarily be a Disney killer right away because they still hold a huge market share down in the theme park area in Florida, but still, this is probably going to make big headway for them. But let's look at some of the details to see what that actually could mean for Disney and Universal. Universal Orlando reveals new details about one of the most highly anticipated lands in the upcoming Epic Universe expansion park. Orlando's Super Nintendo World will be the company's second such attraction in the US after the Universal Studios Hollywood attraction of the same name that opened early last year and has become wildly popular. It says here that the park in Orlando will have a lot of the same features as the Super Nintendo World in Anaheim, including the Green Pipe, Mount Beanpole, Peach's Castle, Piranha Plants, Goombas, Spinning Coins, blocks, and Bowser's Castle, where guests can take a spin on Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. But in addition to that, you can almost think about their whole Anaheim park as kind of the soft opening because Epic Universe is not only just going to be a Super Nintendo World, but it's going to have several other lands attached to it as well. So that's one reason why a lot of people are thinking that's going to be kind of the Disney killer, because not only do you have the Super Nintendo World, but then you also have the Universal Monster area, the Isle of Birth for How to Train Your Dragons and things like that. So this is obviously a pretty big deal for them. Yoshi's Adventure will make its US debut at Epic Universe. Universal promises the family-friendly ride will provide guests of all ages with breathtaking views of Super Mario Land as they join Yoshi's and travel through Mushroom Kingdom landscapes in search of glowing eggs, encountering many familiar characters along the way. It goes on to say about how at the edge of the Super Mario Land, there will be the entrance to Donkey Kong Country, which will be a lot more jungle themed. And to me, that's the coolest part about having a Super Nintendo World is because then you can leave so much room for expansion. Like maybe later on down the line, there'll be an entrance for the Land of Hyrule or something like that. You get a Zelda's Castle, and then you have rides associated with that. Or at least that's just me dreaming because I love the Zelda franchise. So I think it'd be really cool to have a Hyrule themed world or something like that. But it says here the chief attraction of Donkey Kong Country will be a first of its kind family coaster called Minecart Madness. And that just seems to make sense, having a kind of a minecart themed roller coaster for our Donkey Kong Country attraction, because, those are just kind of iconic to the game. And there was this video going around a couple months ago that demonstrates what this roller coaster would actually be like and why it says it's a one-of-a-kind one. Because one of the things about the whole Donkey Kong Country game with the minecarts is that you have these jumps and things like that throughout the roller coaster. And look at what you see right here when you're going. It's like you have these jumps on there, which would obviously be something that you really haven't seen in roller coasters before. But you see this video demonstrating like what that would actually look like. So yeah, there are gaps in the track, but it's still attached. So you're not actually doing these jumps because that would just be, well, obviously very unsafe if you were to try to attempt that. But still, this seems like a fun ride. It doesn't seem like it's one of those roller coasters for like thrill seekers or something, but it seems like something that a lot of kids would enjoy and families can enjoy. And I'm not saying that this is the reason that Universal is going to overtake Disney or why people are thinking it's going to overtake Disney. This just goes to show that Universal is being really innovative in some of the stuff that they're doing moving forward, because they're not just going to try to practice the same things that they've always been doing. That's something that Disney's been kind of doing in recent years. They've been getting a little bit more stagnant with a lot of their approach when it comes to the theme parks. And as a result, Universal has kind of been gaining ground on them. And it's because of that, a lot of people are thinking that they're eventually going to overtake them. It gotten so bad that Disney felt like they had to address this whole issue at their last earnings call. Ordinarily, this article from Inside the Magic points out that usually Disney doesn't really address Universal. They just kind of ignore them. It's like, well, they're beneath us. We don't need to talk about them. But now, since they've actually been gaining quite a bit of ground on Disney, they specifically called them out or addressed this whole issue in their last earnings call. The rivalry between Walt Disney World Resorts and Universal Orlando Resort has long defined the competitive landscape of the theme park industry. For decades, Disney has held the crown as the undisputed leader, captivating audiences with its iconic characters, immersive storytelling, and unrivaled guest experiences. However, in recent years, Universal Orlando has emerged as a formidable contender, challenging Disney dominance with innovative attractions and a savvy marketing approach. And then there was this report published last year that's measuring theme park attendance from around the world. And as you can see, Magic Kingdom in Orlando has the #1 spot, followed by Disney's park in Anaheim, Disneyland. And then it's third and fourth is also Disney parks, but those are the Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea. And they're a little bit different because it's different management for them. They get some support from Disney as a whole, but for the most part, it's almost treated like it's a licensing. And then the #5 one is Universal Studios Japan. And this is kind of an interesting thing because you can see that's actually ahead of Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, which is at the #11 spot. But look at this marked difference in attendance right here. Between 2021 and 2022, Universal Studios Japan had a 125% increase in attendance. And that's because in 2022, they opened up the Super Nintendo World at the Universal Studios in Japan, and you saw a huge bump in people going to that park to see that. Because if you just look at the attendance in 2021, this would have put it at the #12 spot, but they went from #12 to #5 in 1 year. Since this report has been published, though, or since this report has been done, Universal has actually jumped up. I believe they're around #4 now, and they've been gaining ground on Disney in recent years. And then next year, they're going to be opening up not only their Super Nintendo Land, but just the whole Epic Universe, which is going to have an expansion to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which saw a bump in Universal attendance after they opened up the Wizarding World. Then you're going to get the Isle of Berk, which is a How to Train Your Dragon Land. You got the Universal Monster Land. So people are talking about, like, is this going to be the year that Universal surpasses Disney? And that's why Disney felt like they had to address it. And they have announced billions of dollars devoted to some of their attractions and things like that. But you got to understand, it's not like it's billions of dollars just for their theme parks, or it's their theme parks throughout the whole world. It's also their cruise lines as well. But if you look at the stuff that they're going to be doing for their Magic Kingdom parks specifically, or just their parks in Orlando, it's actually pretty lacking, for lack of a better term. There's not really a whole lot that they have announced that's going to really draw in the crowds. Nothing that gets people excited like the expansion that Universal's doing with Epic Universe. And even if they are going to announce something right now, it's still going to be probably like 5-10 years before they can actually get something pretty much debuted at the park. So within that time frame, Universal is just going to have free reign to pretty much just continue on with what they're doing like that and attracting people. So we'll see next year whether it's actually enough to, probably not next year, probably a couple of years before we see the park attendance. But I'm thinking if Universal Florida, if they're probably not going to necessarily overpass them in just 1 year, but I'm thinking they're probably going to take a higher spot, maybe like 2 or 3 on the list, and then just continue to gain ground on Disney. And unless Disney does something drastic, they're going to eventually lose out to Universal and Orlando. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you think Universal is going to overtake Disney after they unveil the Epic Universe? Or do you think that they're still going to kind of fall behind Disney, but eventually take over them, or never actually catch up with them altogether? And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest in entertainment news. And if you can, click that like button and share the video because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.